Support for this episode comes from Modern Football Technology. Modern Football Technology provides real-time opponent tendencies and self-scout while eliminating manual data entry into Huddle, DV Sport, and Exos. If you're tired of tools that are time-consuming to learn and perform inconsistently at best, then we recommend Modern Football for a fresh perspective. Schedule a demo today at teammofo.com to see a battle-tested tool that's proven to perform and deliver value. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code CC10 to receive 10% off your first year. And listen to our recent episode featuring Folsom High School defensive coordinator Jordan Ersick to learn more about how the 2023 California State Champion uses modern football to dominate their opponents.
I think just the biggest thing with whoever you are, just be yourself. You don't have to be or come from the exact same spot or have the exact same background as these kids to be able to relate to them and to be able to have a relationship with them. And that's probably my favorite part of football is you got kids from all different walks of life, coaches from all different walks of life coming together. As long as you're genuine, people will like you and respect you. So I think that's something that I try to take a tremendous amount of pride in. You know, we all got different personalities, so I'm not going to ever try to follow somebody up and try to be like them, you know, even if they're successful. It just won't work if that's not who you are.
On this week's Teachable Moments, our guest really gives what I believe is a case study in doing things the right way and being with the right people. And it's a who's who of guys who now have made it, I believe, guys who were in his past. And Robby Discher has been a guest before on the podcast when he was at Toledo. He's now at Illinois as a special teams coordinator. And again, a prime example of just doing things the right way, staying the course. And I know you're going to enjoy this one. And with me is the host of this series, Steve Hauser. So, Steve, your thoughts on Robby Discher and this episode?
Keith, this was like re-listening to it was kind of a blast from the past. This was actually the first episode we filmed. Dish was in the car driving to a coach's clinic to go present. He had just signed up at Illinois about 3 weeks ago. Family's still moving out there from Tulane. It's really a nice little homecoming for them. He and his wife are from the Kansas City, Missouri area, a lot of family. And Dish went to school at Jewell out that way too. So just a lot of people from his past. I mean, Willie Fritz is a big mentor, him, and he came from that central Missouri world before going down to Sam or over to Georgia Southern. So it was great kind of riding down the highway with him and seeing where that journey's taken him.
What you see on tape is a direct reflection of what you teach and how you teach. Video is important, but if you don't teach well, you're not going to like what you see on your video. First Down Playbook has been helping coaches teach better for 13 years. It allows you to present installs, playbooks, and practice cards in half the time with NFL quality. Coaching tools like video pairing, a player app, practice schedules, and wristband sheets have made First Down Playbook a program management system with everything in one place. If you're in a position of leadership with your football program, receive a free 1-week look at First Down Playbook. Call them at 512-814-6158 or visit them on their website or social media. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code COACH24 to receive a $100 discount off the normal $700 First Down Playbook team membership price. Links and the phone number are in the show notes.
I'm really happy today to really start us off here with a guy that I've been fortunate to know for a long time. We'll get into his background in just a moment, but just took a Power 5 job at Illinois as the full-time special teams coordinator, Robby Discher. Dish, appreciate you jumping on here, dude, and taking the time.
Oh, appreciate you. Hope you're doing well.
This is the most professional we'll sound the whole podcast, Dish. So really the point of everything here, guys, and I'm talking to the crowd in the cloud or whoever there is, it's really about being a human, right? At the end of the day, whatever logo you've got on, it's not going to be there forever. Positive, negative, rise and fallen. We all have those moments in the business. I'm going to hype Dish up because I know he won't do it himself. I mean,
2 years ago, he was at Georgia as the special teams analyst, making a huge difference behind the scenes there, won a national championship. Then got the full-time job with Willie Fritz, who, he can speak to this, but has been a real mentor throughout his career, and they win the Cotton Bowl against USC. Gets an opportunity this offseason to go back into Power 5 football. He's been there. He's done it. But, man, you're right back in the mud dish of getting ready for spring ball, moving houses, getting the family there. Tell us a little bit more about just the roller coaster you've been on.
Oh, man. Well, I got this job maybe 2.5 weeks ago. So it's been great so far. Right now I'm actually driving. We started spring break today, so I'm talking at a clinic tomorrow in Kansas City, which is God's country, as you know. And then wife's flying up, going to look at houses. So, and by we, I mean her. So
always along for the ride. Now, Dish, I'd be crazy not to bring up the proud William Jewell alumni that we could get into on this show. I mean, give us the 30-second spiel on the alma mater here.
Oh, man, it's the Harvard of the Midwest. What else do you need to know?
Big time ball coaches now. Get into the family tree.
Oh, well, shoot. Bill Snyder played there. I've never met him, but I've heard he's a great dude. I got a lot of respect for him as a coach. And then, there's, obviously Dan. Most people probably know who he is, Oregon.
That's Dan Lanning for the listeners at home. No big deal. Regular
John,
person, but also a ball coach.
John Igurugu played there. He's a linebackers coach with the Giants now. And, there's Trent Figg, who just got a head coaching job at Calvary up in Michigan. And then there's several other guys coaching college, like, Lynn Nuts at Pitt State. There's a bunch of others I'm probably not thinking of right now. And there's 3 or 4 high school coaches, head coaches in the area, Benny Palmer and, Logan Minnick and a few others. And, we got a couple other head high school coaches in Texas. And a lot of people kind of won a lot of games. So I guess we might not have been the greatest players.
For everybody out there, I mean, Dish does a great job recruiting the Kansas City area. If there's any, coaches out there, by all means, I'm sure he'd be happy to hear you, whether it's the Kansas JUCOs or Kansas City, he'll keep doing a good job there for a long time. And Dish, I brought up Coach Fritz's name, and I'll give my 2 cents before you can get into it much more than I can. But we were doing the high school road show through Texas at Oklahoma State, and you were there with me at the time, and helping out doing receiver drills. And Coach Fritz is a Division I head coach, and he's shuttling the footballs back to get to me as a GA to help run a county fair station drill when he could be walking around holding a clipboard kicking it, right? And he's figuring it out with the rest of us. So I think that says a lot. But go into your connection a little bit more with him and your background.
You mentioned that. One thing that always stood out to me is, like, he'll never walk by a piece of trash in the building without picking it up. You know what I mean? And, like, get off the bus, and he's the first one getting underneath the bus, helping unload the bags. And I work for him at Sam Houston as well. I just remember one day coming up on, like, a Saturday in springtime, and him and our equipment manager at the time were in the equipment room cleaning it up, and he was up top sorting shoulder pads, and I was like, holy cow, I'm a GA. I should probably be helping him do this. So, but just the fact that, like, he would do stuff like that, and he's a head coach, and he still does stuff like that, it's just, I think it kind of shows who he is. And, he gave me my first opportunity in college. He's a really good football coach, better person. So I couldn't say enough good about him.
Well, I'll kind of keep it rolling with the Sam Houston, because that's when you and I really crossed paths is, you coming from Sam Houston to Oklahoma State and interviewing for that special teams job that Coach Gundy's always had off the field for probably been 10, 15 years now. Tell me about just getting your roots in special teams and building into that Oklahoma State process.
I got done playing. I coached high school ball for 1 year in the area for Coach Jones at Kearney, Kansas City area. And then, I really wanted to get into college, and I happened to know a guy that knew Coach Fritz, and he had just got the job at Sam Houston from Central Missouri. He allowed me to go down there and kind of volunteer and help out in the spring. And then, I got kind of fortunate in where a GA opened up, and Coach always ran the special teams himself. So it was like a GA that kind of reported to him and basically would get the meeting tape ready and go through it with him and do all the quality control stuff, and he ran it. So that's who I learned all the stuff from. And then I was lucky enough to get an interview for a GA at Oklahoma State, which at the time you only were allowed 9 assistants in FBS. Now you get 10. So it was probably the best GA job of all time. You got to be the special teams coordinator and coach the tight ends. I don't know if you remember that one year, but, so it was a lot of fun. And then, you walk into the building and Tyreek Hill's your kick and punt returner. So getting kind of lucky with that.
Dish, I'll bring this up too, because just that spot you had a chance to be with Coach Fritz, and Matt Powledge, right, had been in that spot. We got Chris Couch. I mean, Kyle Siegler's run the special teams at Sam Houston. Like, I'd love for you to go into that corgi clinic we had back in the day, just being in Huntsville with that crew, and admirably named after Coach Siegler's pups. He's now the O-line coach at Louisiana Monroe, but just that community that you felt in the special teams world and guys you've gotten to cross paths with.
Somehow, just as well as me, somehow all these special teams coordinators seem to all know each other. Yeah, that clinic was a good time. I think it was when I first got the job at Toledo. I was down recruiting the Houston area, and like you had mentioned, Powledge was at, I think he had just got to maybe ULM or something, and Siegler just took over special teams at Sam Houston, and Patrick Toney was in there. Named after Coach Siegler's corgis. I don't know who named it that clinic, but I just remember us five getting in there, and Josh Robinson being in there as well, and just kind of like
100%
talking ball for a day and a half over the weekend, and then went to the Dave Matthews concert that night in the Woodlands. So it was a great weekend.
That's a Disher special. I will say this, Dish. One of the things I want to get to know with people through this is those moments where the ups and downs, right? You talk about being in Kansas City and getting to Sam, and then Oklahoma State, and then the full-time gig at Toledo. So there's a lot of moving pieces to this. And, when did you feel like, the word that I've been told before is like, it's a moment of clarity. Through all the ups and downs, you're like, man, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it could be in a really down moment where you find that, or a really high moment where it all just makes sense. What was that, memory that comes up when I say an example like that?
You just enjoy what you're doing, and we get to coach football for a living and recruit kids for a living. It's a lot of people that like to be doing what we're doing. Yeah, it's a performance-based business, so you're always trying to find that extra advantage or go that extra inch, whatever it is, to try to be as productive as you can be. It's all about relationships, I think, and you make a lot of really good friends in there because you're working a lot together, and you get really, really tight with the players because, a lot of times you're the one that recruits them, you're the one coaching them, and you just get those relationships with them. And I know we had talked about special teams a decent amount, but that's my favorite part of being the special teams coordinator at a lot of these different spots I've been. It's just you get to have like more relationships, and you get to coach more people than probably anybody else in the program outside of the head coach and the strength coach. So, I think that's kind of always been my favorite part, is whether I've been a tight ends coach or I've been on defense or whatever, I've always just felt like I've had pretty good relationships with the team, and that's something I really enjoy, and being around them and staying in contact with them and following them throughout their lives. I think it kind of validates what you do.
I didn't even mean to get into this, Dish, but I'm smiling as you're talking through that because it is so organic and real. Like, you do a great job of giving off that positive energy in your own way. The first thing that comes to mind is like the Rihanna, roll punt, like whatever the term is, or the slides that you'd have in your meetings, right? Those big, loud pictures that catch everybody's attention. Tell people like just your style of getting the players to buy in, and even your way of teaching that connects you to these guys better.
Like it or not, most people didn't sign the scholarship papers wherever you're coaching at to cover kicks for you. You know what I mean? So you got to find ways to keep it creative, keep them engaged, and you got to keep it clear and concise and make the meetings enjoyable to be in, but also get your message across too. You got to kind of walk that line. Anytime you can give them a visual like that or whatever, I think it helps with memory, and I don't think it's a bad thing to get them laughing every now and then. There's a time and a place for it, obviously, but no, that part's fun for me. I think just the biggest thing with whoever you are, just be yourself. you don't have to be or come from the exact same spot or have the exact same background as these kids to be able to relate to them and to be able to have a relationship with them. And that's probably my favorite part of football is you got kids from all different walks of life, coaches from all different walks of life coming together. As long as you're genuine, people will like you and respect you. So I think that's something that I try to take a tremendous amount of pride in. You know, we all got different personalities, so I'm not going to ever try to follow somebody up and try to be like them. You know, even if they're successful, it just won't work if that's not who you are. So just try to be the best.
That's the word right there, is genuine. And Dish, we talked about Coach Fritz and, you know, obviously coming from Georgia and coming off that national championship, it was a different role for you again, being off the field, right? So what would you say is the biggest takeaway that you're going to bring through the rest of your career that you learned from that place? I know there's probably a ton, but like just as a coach, what did that place teach you that you're going to build into these other opportunities?
Man, there are so many different things I learned being there. There's so many really, really good coaches and really good people in that program. And I just think the detail in which they do everything is pretty eye-opening. There's no stone left unturned. And that part was just how they use their time. And I thought very efficient, just so much detail in everything that's done. And the head coach notices everything, and he's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my entire life. And that's something I would probably take away from that place.
We're taking a quick time out from Teachable Moments here, but don't hit that skip button because these 15 to 20 seconds here will save you some time in the future. Steve, tell us what you got going out to these high school and college programs with Teach Tapes.
One sentence, Keith. It's pro football focus for drills, right? How do you do simpler, better, the things that you wish you had in those self-scouts from the winter, right? Footwork, aiming points, tackling, ball security. It's all trimmed up, cataloged. Anything you see on our Teach Tapes Twitter, it's the behind the scenes. It's the source of coming into your Exos or huddle and making sure that it's available to your players in your cutups, right? That's what we've taken a lot of pride in, is taking this open source information and making it digestible for the players, because that's what they want to see is visuals of the guys they idolize and where they're trying to go. So happy to talk with anybody. It's on teachtapes.org/consulting. And we've been fortunate enough to work with Division I, 1AA, Division III, and some of the best high school programs in the country already. So let's get it going.
As coaches, we know that some of the biggest hurdles to our team's success can come from off the field. Your team needs support to tackle the endless list of expenses, uniforms, training equipment, travel, and more. But raising that money can feel like a full-time job. Thankfully, there's Vertical Raise. Vertical Raise is the premier online fundraising platform using innovative technology to create the easiest and most efficient system available. Raise more money in less time with a local fundraising coach who works with your team every step of the way to customize the ideal fundraiser. With options for online donations, digital discount cards, premium product sales, and even spirit shops, Vertical Raise has top-of-the-line solutions for every fundraising style. To find out more, visit verticalraise.com and we'll get you connected with an exclusive offer on your first fundraiser.
Here's one where I'm going to dig a little and it might make you think. So not someone that's on I know you're new at Illinois, or I would say even eliminate Tulane because you were just there. Like, who is a great young coach that you've come across? You're like, man, this is somebody that I'm going to keep my eye on long term. Right? Could have been at Georgia, could have been at Louisiana or Toledo, or just these places. Like, man, this is a guy who just gets it, and just a little shine of like, man, this is a guy that's doing it the right way, and keep your eye on.
Man, you put me on the spot. There's a lot of good ones. I'm sure I'm gonna piss people off forgetting somebody, but a couple that come to my mind immediately, like Pat Cashmore, worked for us at Toledo. He's in a quality control role. He just got the special teams coordinator at South Dakota State. You know, he's before that running back at Pittsburgh State, which they had a really, really good year with Coach Wright and all them. But, you know, Pat's a really, really good one. And Tim Kennedy's another one that comes to mind. He was with us as a receiver GA at Toledo. And, you know, as time got done being a GA, he's there 3 years. So we helped get him on at Tulane last year. So he was with defense, but he's another really good young coach. I mean, there's a million of them out there. So I don't want to keep naming them 'cause I'm sure I'm going to forget a couple, but those are just a couple that I have pretty good personal relationships with that I've worked with and I thought did a great job. And, Josh Robinson's another guy that's worked with me a few different spots. So there's plenty of them out there.
I think that's important to air that out, right? I mean, there's so much work that gets done in those GA rooms, and me and you lived it. And, you got the turkey sandwiches from the weight room stashed away and squirreled away with your protein, bars. Like, it's just the way it is at that time. And I always joke with people, Dish, like, who GA'd and who didn't, right? Just in the way of how people operate with different assignments. And sometimes an ask is pretty easy, right? Sometimes an ask is a big deal because it changes the way you're operating and how fast you can turn it over. And I kind of lead that to the next question. Now that you are, the quote unquote big time ball coach, Dish, and I'm saying that to be a jerk, but like, I'm proud of you, man. You've done a great job, but like, what are you trying to get better at right now? This is a new opportunity for you at Illinois. Heck, you're going to a clinic right now. You got house hunting stuff on your mind too, but like, just being a person, like, what are you still trying to get better at?
I mean, I would say in every aspect, I'm always trying to
be specific with me, man. Come on. I get the coach beat. Give me the real. What are you working on?
Well, the exciting thing for me is I'm getting to coach tight ends again. You know what I mean? So I haven't coached tight ends since 2019 at Toledo. So when I went to Louisiana, I was on defense, and in Georgia, I was an analyst. So I'm excited to be back coaching offense again. I think that's something I take a lot of pride in, and I'm excited to do it again. So I'd say that's something, and I've been meeting a bunch with our offensive staff here and Coach Lonnie, and I think he's really, really good and really like the offense and really like the kids here. But that's something that, that's exciting, and that's something that, obviously we've been, you're always trying to perfect everything you do and always trying to change stuff up and stay on the cutting edge and, never stay the same. So there's things we're changing too, and special teams, you're never going to stay the exact same. And
how about spring ball, right? I know that install is fresh on your mind. We talked about that the other day when we were catching up, but like, what do you think you're really trying to maximize out of spring ball, right? You can say it, you're joining a new staff, but it's really, a system that's been going on there previously. Like, what do you think as a special teams coach you can do personally to really maximize spring ball?
Well, as far as football stuff, I think kind of get in your base of each phase. You're not going to get all of it in, but at least your base couple calls of each phase and, really try to master the details and fundamentals more so than anything else. I always believe in, I'd rather be simple and good at doing a couple things than be overly complex and be average at everything. But more importantly than that, I would say it's just building the relationships with the players. I think that's so critical in everything you do, really. And we seem to have really, really good kids here. I've been here a couple weeks. You always got kids stopping by the office, saying hi, asking about your family. I'd say that those are a couple of things. Just build the relationships with the players and get to know them and try to figure out what they can and can't do and try to figure out ways to put them in positions to be successful and not asking to do something they can't do. And then as far as like scheme-wise, just try to get your base couple calls of each phase in and be detailed with it and have answers for various looks of those things and just be really good technicians, I would say.
Awesome. And Dish, I'll leave you with this one, man. Give me one good thing, like one takeaway that you feel has really helped you, whether it's create buy-in, whether it's the game changer system that you do, or even like getting stuff done after a game where you can go get donuts with the kids in the morning, or, is it something you do on the plane that sets you up for the next week? Is it a template? What do you feel like someone may be able to do in their end after listening to this of like getting another 30, 45 minutes to get a workout in or to just escape and be better after that escape? Like, what do you think that you can do that might help somebody else?
I do think that's important. You mentioned like being able to like work out in the middle of the day, or like if you got a family, which I do. I got a wife and 3 kids. Being able to see them when you can, because in going to bed at a normal time, sometimes in this line of work, especially during the season, you get home really, really late. You got to be up really, really early, and you get home and you want to watch TV for an hour and a half before bed. But trying to spend time with the family as much as you can, and they're asleep, you go to sleep if you're at home, you know, like they're not just
Yep.
trying to be disciplined in that regard so you can be the best version of yourself the next day. And I would say just don't get stagnant in what you do. Always try to find new answers. Zoom's a heck of a deal, man. I've been on, you know, my family's not in town, so when a lot of the coaches leave, I'm just at the office trying to learn and trying to watch more film and learn the offense and stuff, and as well as just like, you know, I've been doing Zooms with different coaches who I know or I like, just trying to get, you know, different ideas or different drills or talking tight end play or whatever. So I probably got just this week probably 6 pages of notes of good ideas from other people that we haven't done or I haven't done, you know. So I think you don't ever want to get set in your ways and think that's the only way to do something. So there's a million different ways to do it. And I think just be open-minded and just always try to evaluate kind of what you're doing and is it the best way to go about it.
I'm with you, man. And, you know, my time at Arkansas State in 21, FaceTime's a hell of a deal. You're at the office and the family's not in town yet, and you can Zoom or FaceTime books and bedtime, right? And then, you're getting a burger and you're still there because what are you going back to? You're going to a burner apartment or a hotel room and you're coming back in there in the morning, but you can still be there and have that catch up with them for 20, 30 minutes, right? And that recharge, it makes all the difference. And I think this is important too, and I'm not even sure if I've told you this before. You know, Jay Nunez, a guy that we both know in the special teams world, was at Eastern Michigan, a lot of success, you know, got over to OU last year, running the show off the field for them special teams wise. And I was talking to him when I got to Arkansas State, and I was like, dude, I'm grinding, I'm figuring things out, and it's like, you know, it's year one. He's like, that's what it is in year one, right? You're switching logos, you're making language, you got a new staff, you got new kids, you got new equipment managers, new video people. Man, it's different when you're in year 4 or 5, the staff's the same, the kids know the core principles already. It just is what it is in year one. So you're probably going through that all over again right now, Dish, but just good perspective to have, right? Because once you can settle in and get your teeth in, like, it's ball. And there's a reason you've done it all these different places and had success, man. So long story short, I'm rooting for you. Thank you for jumping on here. Appreciate you, dude.
I appreciate you, Steve. Appreciate you doing what you do.
Steve, another powerful episode here. And again, as we hinted to in the beginning, just some great relationships that Robby developed. And as I said, is almost now a who's who of guys who have made it and guys who are doing some good things at the top levels.
And Keith, one of the coolest things that just re-listening to it was him talking about, you know, learning from Willie Fritz. And, you know, I told my story of being around Coach Fritz at these mega camps, you know, him hustling and helping facilitate the drills when he didn't have to. But Dish talked about him as a head coach and, you know, obviously a big special teams guy in his own right of stacking shoulder pads, right? Taking stuff off the bus, picking up trash around the facility. Like, I mean, you don't set out to become this big name. Even the guys at Sam Houston, like Matt Powledge, Pat Toney, like Kyle Seager, like, yeah, you're name dropping these guys, but like they were just people, right? They were in their mid-20s in Huntsville doing ball because there wasn't much else to do, right? And I think back to, you know, being at Oklahoma State with Dish and like in the summers we'd have to clean out the back room to like get new binders for player meetings. And you're tearing out these old binders that say, you know, Alex Golish or Glenn Ellerby or Walt Bell or Luke Pascal. Like, these are all guys who figured it out 10 years ago, right? It's just another generation. And there's a crew doing it right now that nobody knows their name.
Right.
And that's not because they're not good at what they do. It's just they haven't had that moment yet. So it's not about attaching yourself to someone who's already risen. It's just trying to do it your way, the best way you can. And it hopefully works out.
Be sure to go to coachingcoordinator.com for enhanced show notes with links to related episodes and resources. In addition, we have articles and our Winning Edge takeaways detailed in text. Also, sign up for our free weekly tip sheet, which highlights the best ideas from the previous week, trending episodes, and featured resources. Follow me on Twitter at Coach K. Grabowski.